squad, Nate?
My squad, shout out to the Lions. Detroit, stand up. What up, though?
Love that. Hey, Nate.
Hey.
And Nate 1.0.
That's right.
It's Nathan.
Nate and I switched outfits today. We kind of switched identities, too. Just a little bit. This is my Koi shirt, babes in Koi land. You can just smell the Drakkar Noir at home coming off that bottle, baby. Enjoy it. What is
This is my Kyle Brandt and Maccabi and Fitch look.
Yeah, my man. What's up? Let's talk football.
A lot coming out of him. How are you feeling dressed
Good
in this
question.
outfit?
I'm feeling really good.
Yeah?
I want to go camping this weekend.
All of a sudden, he just loves the Dave Matthews Band out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere, yeah. And Blink 182 is just playing over and over.
Are you going to go shopping this weekend? Where are you going to go?
I don't know. Maybe Home Depot.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have enough time.
Yeah.
Nate was during commercial going, my little baby. It's incredible. That's amazing.
This is our show, #GMFB. It is Good Morning Football, and you might be wondering why we're starting with the Lions, because they could be that team to go from the bottom to the top. And in Detroit is where we find our very own Stacey Dales, who caught up with Lions head coach and friend of the show, Matt Patricia, to ask him what he's excited about in his second year with minicamp.
Kind of thrown into the mix and trying to figure everything out, from personnel to coaches to scheme to the building, the organization. It's a lot that comes at you the first year. Definitely different situation this year when you kind of have an off season to kind of sit back and plan everything out. And we made some changes, and obviously just excited to get out here with the players and to get going at football again.
The quarterback is arguably the most important position on a roster. Matthew Stafford, 11th season. Probably, one could argue, the toughest offseason he's ever had with his wife, Kelly, having brain surgery. What have you learned, Matt, about your quarterback this offseason?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think it just kind of reconfirms everything I knew about him before. He's an unbelievable guy. He's tough. He loves this organization, loves this team, obviously loves his family, and you can really appreciate that. Just the way that he was able to come to work through the course of the spring, just like he did through the course of the season. And we all have to kind of handle adversity as we go through, and as football players, they do it a lot. And he's just been the same guy every single day. Really excited. He's competitive. Wants to improve. Wants to help the team. So, I love it. I mean, there's nothing better than to come in with a guy, or obviously your quarterback, that's ready to go and excited about getting better and trying to go out and win. So, it just fires me up, and when we go out and try to improve.
Big fan of Matt Patricia. He was on our show, and the quote that I will always think of when I see him now is him saying, keep talking about the rest of the NFC North.
Yeah.
I like when you guys talk about them. That means we go to work, put our heads down, and do that. Bringing a little Patriots East to the Midwest, of course, with Trey Flowers and Danny Amendola and so on. So is this the year, Nate? Do you feel differently about them coming off a 6-10 season?
Well, this is the year where it all has to come together. There were a lot of questions about the chemistry between Matt Patricia and the players. I mean, I was talking to different individuals within the organization, even media outlets that have watched this from the outside looking in, and they said initially there was a disconnect because he came in and he wanted it to be the Patriot way. And I think the Lions were saying, well, I get where you're coming from. We understand the championships and the resume that you bring in here, but we have to create the Lions way. And I've been there before. A new coach, he says, I want to do it my way, and he doesn't really take into account how the team feels. This year, I feel like there's a little bit more of an understanding between Matt Patricia, his starting quarterback, and then the rest of the team, because really that's all that matters. But it does boil down to Matt Stafford, though, and him being the guy that can take an average season, 21 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, to 35 touchdowns and less than 10 interceptions. He has the arm. He has the intelligence.
Yeah.
He has the money in the bank account, which means, and I'll always bring it up because I played for him, and when you get paid, that pressure is added on top of that. So with Kenny Golladay being my X-factor receiver coming into this season, Marvin Jones, we need him to stay healthy. The running backs and T.J. Hockenson.
The Rook.
How about that? I feel like they have what they need. Matt Stafford just needs to take that leap. And I know I've said it time and time again because I've seen some great moments. And I just seen them. I was there on the field with them. So I know he can go from being middle of the pack to top 10, maybe even top 5 quarterback if the season goes well.
It's hard to talk about Matt Stafford. For me, it is, because especially now in this offseason when hope springs eternal, every Matt Stafford conversation comes back to very talented, makes a lot of money, doesn't have the accomplishments. They just don't. That's why I think there's a very popular Carmelo Anthony comparison, which is astute, because people respect both of their talents. They just don't have the playoff resume. And let's go here. You're #1 pick who makes all this money and has this great arm. It's time to win. The fact is that, because there's a lot of apologists for Stafford. He doesn't have this, he doesn't have this.
Yes.
Okay, if we think about just our Matt Stafford memories, let's just think of the images from his career. It really comes down to 3, and it's a little bit backhanded. The #1 probably was an amazingly cool moment against the Cowboys. This is back in Week 8, 2013. We remember this because he was mic'd up, and he went over the top, and he was on the goal line. Get down, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it. He jumps over, he wins the game. Now, guys, this was an awesome moment, and I respect it. The team floundered in the last month and went 7-9. It's like everything that's good ends up in a bad way. The other one, when he was a rookie, he runs down the field hanging his arm because his arm was an incredibly gutsy moment. He turned out a leader. It was on a 2-14 team. And the last one, I'm not even making a joke out of this. I think 20 years from now, right now, if Matt Stafford's career was going to end, one of the things people will remember him for is chugging that beer over Rodgers at the restaurant that just happened last week. I think that is a top 3 memory of Matt Stafford. It's one of the coolest things he's ever done. So where's the divisional round win? Where's the title game? Where's the wild card? We have almost nothing. It's time to go because we're rooting for him, but we can only wait so long.
But isn't that what's so interesting in this division? It's almost like they're prisoners of the moment. Like, because you look at the Vikings, you look at the Bears, you look at the Packers. Do I think they'll be improved this year? Yes. Do I think they can beat those teams right now? I sort of don't. So it's up to Stafford. It's up to Matt Patricia to get everybody to buy in and get it done this year with those added weapons and another year in a system that might have some better chemistry. And Stacey Dales was crushing it yesterday in Detroit. She even caught up with Matthew Stafford himself to talk about getting these Lions to buy in.
I think we were all in last year, but every year's a new year. Doesn't matter who your head coach is, Yeah. Everybody's got to, dial in and make sure that they are, doing everything they can to help us win every year. Every team changes, coaching staffs change, players change. It's just the way it goes.
Mm-hmm. I would say, probably the biggest face that I see on the field for you guys is your offensive coordinator, Darrell Bevell. And, I noticed this offseason, he said he was going to try to show you some things maybe you haven't done. You've been in this league now 11 years. What's new?
I don't know that there's a ton of, brand new stuff that I'm having to do, but, each coordinator that I've played for has their own, personal wrinkles that they like to put into the offense. Mm-hmm. And, Coach Bevel's no different. We're going to go out there and try and execute it as best we can. And I'm a huge part of that, obviously, being the quarterback, touching the ball every play, making decisions.
Where was he taken in the draft?
#1.
Number one overall. So heavy expectations will always go hand in hand with Matt Stafford, and especially in a division where you are playing with a highly paid Kirk Cousins and, of course, an Aaron Rodgers. Is it fair to say in the NFC North that Stafford is the quarterback that has the most to prove? Being the #1 pick, not living up to expectations, or is it somebody else?
I think it's Kirk Cousins.
Really?
Kirk Cousins has a turnkey team. The fact that Vikings team did not make the playoffs last year with that much talent, it falls on him. And we talk about it over and over. It's a broken record. Big game this, big game that. It's incredible this season what it's going to, because we know that the Minnesota Vikings have enough players to make the playoffs. It's going to come down to the last month. This is an inevitable conversation on Good Morning Football. There's going to be a December chat about Kirk Cousins, and the December schedule is he plays all 3 division teams, and he plays at the Chargers. Now that's a brutal juggernaut of a segment or of a schedule to go through. With that line and that defense, there's no reason, if you have very good quarterback play, you should not be in the playoffs. Kirk Cousins has proved a lot, and he knows it.
Seems like we'll be saying that about Kirk Cousins for a long time.
I know.
He finds
I'm
himself
tired of saying it.
on good teams making a ton of money. So, yeah, we'll be looking forward to seeing if Kirk Cousins win that big game. For me, speaking of turnkey, how about the Chicago Bears?
Yeah.
Mitchell Trubisky.
Talk about it.
And what he's been doing, the trajectory of his career. I mean, they've been ascending in the right direction, and now he has everything that he needs. You got the tight end play, wide receivers, they're deep for the first time in a long time. The running back core is there. And not to mention, you can make an argument that Khalil Mack is the best defensive player in all of football. So if Trubisky makes the same type of leap that he made last year, it's not why wouldn't these guys win the NFC North. It's not why wouldn't these guys make the playoffs. It's why wouldn't these guys be Super Bowl contenders?
Yeah.
Like, that's the ultimate. And that's how good they were last year. Nagy came in, changed a lot of things, and all of a sudden they had Club Dub in the locker room, and they weren't just winning. They were beating up on teams. So I'm looking forward to these guys, and this is one of those Super Bowl or bust teams, like every team is this year, but they're good enough, though.
No doubt.
They have the right dudes on paper, not paper chance, but the right guys on paper to make them chance.
And because they're the closest to winning, he has to make the biggest step. I agree with both of you. We can't neglect to mention Rodgers, though, in this conversation. Stafford has a contract and where he was picked and all of that to live up to your guys respectively. But Does Rodgers have a reason to step up more than everybody else as well, to finally solidify something with his legacy and get himself another ring?
Yeah, he's getting a little older. And he's finally got a new coach. He's been singing about Davante Adams in practice, how much he loves him, how good he is. Of course Rodgers does, absolutely.
And, Rodgers is one of those individuals when it comes to the cash. He doesn't give any breaks. The organization paid me every single dime that you owe me. And for that reason, that puts pressure on you because then that narrative will start to float around. Are you worth more than the team? Because you don't want your team to build around you? Just like we're saying about Russell Wilson. And you know what? These guys that tell the team, break me off, back up that Brinks truck, the criticism is warranted. And if you can't win, we'll keep talking about it. But if Rodgers goes out there and wins, he's like, that's why they pay me. Because I can do it mostly by myself.
Speaking of Brinks trucks, is anyone happier than Carson Wentz this morning?
Carson Wentz got
Get
that bag.
I was going to say that, Nate. Dak should be happier, shouldn't he? This morning, unless you're Kyle, and he said...
Well, he hasn't, Kay, as they say, he hasn't secured the bag yet. But he can
They don't say it like that. Secure the bag.
We've secured an interview with Adam Rank.
We did? That's better than the bag.
Breaking down the
Gotta go
AFC
get the
West.
bag, huh?
He's always bold when it comes to his takes, and we cannot wait to see it entertaining as well. Carson, by the way, cashing in. What does it mean for the other quarterbacks like Dak, like Goff, like Watson,